Good morning, students. Today we shall learn about the electrostatic analog of magnetism, right? In the electrostatics, we have learnt in detail about finding the electric field due to a dipole along the axis and perpendicular to the axis along the equatorial plane, and we found out the values of electric field. For a short electric dipole, we have found out the electric field. The electric field due to a short dipole is along the axis is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2 p upon r cube, where p vector is the dipole moment. If you remember, the dipole moment is given by p vector. P vector is equal to q into 2a vector. This is what we have learnt in the electrostatics. In the same way, electric field perpendicular to the axis through its midpoint, it is called as electric field on the equatorial line. Electric field on the equatorial plane is found out by same equation 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Instead of 2, here it will be only 1 p upon r cube, but it is negative, minus p vector upon r cube with the same constant, right. So, we have seen that magnitude of electric field along the axis is 2 times the magnitude of electric field along the equatorial plane at the same distance r. This is what we have learnt in the electrostatics for a short dipole, and the short dipole is the one for which the length of the dipole is negligible compared to the distance r. That is what we call it as short dipole. In the same way, we can write in case of magnetic dipole. For short magnetic dipole, on the same way along the axis is written as mu naught upon 4 pi. Instead of 1 upon epsilon naught, here you will get mu naught, permeability of free space, mu naught upon 4 pi into 2m vector upon r cube, where 2m vector, m vector is the magnetic moment of the dipole, and r is the distance along the axis. And similarly, on the equatorial plane, magnetic field on the equatorial plane, similar equation, instead of p vector you will get magnetic moment vector m. Remaining thing is almost same, 1 upon epsilon naught is replaced by mu naught. Here also it is in the opposite direction. So, b equatorial is in the opposite direction of magnetic moment, that is why you will get negative sign. This is the analog of electrostatics for a magnetic dipole, short magnetic dipole. And here in this case, the permittivity of free space is epsilon naught, and the permeability of a free space here is mu naught, and the constant here is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, if you look at it, and here it is mu naught upon 4 pi. That is the difference. Electric dipole moment is replaced by magnetic dipole moment. So, this will be helpful in understanding the magnetism of a short dipole. So, we are not going to derive all this. This is derivation is beyond the scope of syllabus, that is deleted from the syllabus. Okay. This is about electrostatics analog. Now, let me solve some simple conceptual problem. I will just read the question. Here, what happens if a bar magnet is cut into 2 pieces? One transverse to its length, second along its length. If a bar magnet is taken, suppose this is a bar magnet, think that this is a bar magnet. If this bar magnet is cut into 2 pieces, transverse to its length means if it is cut into 2 pieces at its midpoint, you will get two magnets whose length will be now half. If the initial length of the magnet is 2L, now it is each magnet will be having length L. Then what happens to its magnetic moment? Definitely magnetic moment will be reduced to half, because the length is reduced to half. We know magnetic moment is given by m into 2L. As we have written in this case, the charge in the case of electrostatics is replaced by pole strength of the magnet M, and 2a, the length of the electric dipole, is replaced by length of the magnetic dipole 2l. So, when it is cut into two halves perpendicular to its length, then what happens? Length 2l becomes L. As a result, each will be having magnetic moment half. They will be having each magnetic moment m by 2. In the same way, next, if the magnet is cut along its length, if it is cut into two halves, then length of the each half will be same. It will be 2l. But what happens to pole strength? Pole strength will be definitely reduced to half. M becomes m by 2. Pole strength will be reduced to half. Therefore, each piece will be having half magnetic moment. Again, each piece will be having half magnetic moment. This is first question. Now, next, must every magnetic configuration have a north pole and a south pole? What about the field due to toroid? The question is it compulsory that each magnetic configuration to possess polarity? You see, each dipole is having polarity, one side north pole, another side south pole. Is it necessary for all the magnetic configuration? It is not so for magnetic configuration of a toroid. For example, if you draw the toroid, we have seen that magnetic field will be confined within its space. Circular magnetic field lines are confined within the space, right? Then, depending on the current, we can draw the direction of these magnetic field lines, let us say in the clockwise sense. So, if the current is flowing like this in the if the current is flowing like this, shown by the four fingers, then the thumb shows the direction of magnetic field lines. So, in this case, it is not possible for us to find the polarity. Polarity is not possible because it is a circular magnetic configuration. So, in such case of a toroid, it is not possible to have polarity for a magnetic configuration, right? The next, there are two identical looking iron bars. Let us say there are two identically looking iron bars. Both are of same length. Both are of same length. Okay, both are of same length. Let us say these are two identically looking iron bars, both are of same length, right? One of which is definitely known to be magnetized, means one of these two is magnetized, means one of them acts as a magnet. We do not know which one, both are identically looking. Then how would one ascertain whether or not both magnetized? If only one is magnetized, how does one ascertain which one? This is an interesting question. If both are magnetized, it is very easy to test. You know, like poles repel each other. If these are like poles, they will repel each other. Unlike poles attract each other. So, if we test the test of repulsion and attraction, definitely we will come to know that both are magnetized. In case only one is magnetized and another one is not magnetized, if one is magnet, another one is similarly looking iron piece of the same identical size, then how to identify whether this one is magnetized, the other one is magnetized? Suppose this is A, this is B. How to test whether A is magnetized or B is magnetized? Then if a thread is given, very easily we can suspend freely one by one and test their directional property. If we suspend freely with the help of a thread and test their direction, if suppose the A is orienting along north-south direction, definitely this is magnetized. The other one will not be magnetized, it will be orienting in its own direction. It will not be fixed along north-south direction. But if thread is not given, if you are not allowed to suspend it freely, then how to test? Then we know one property, that if it is a magnet, if it is a bar magnet or any magnet, then the strength of the magnet will be maximum at the poles. If it is north and south pole, then at the north and south poles you will find maximum attraction. So let us say that this is one A and this is B. Suppose you go on testing it from one end to another end along the length. As you go on testing at different positions, if the attraction is same everywhere, then this is iron piece, the other one is magnet. On the other hand, if for example, when you test it at the poles, if the iron piece is attracted very strongly at the ends, as you go near the middle point, you will experience, the iron piece will experience less attractive force. If the iron piece experiences minimum magnetic strength, then definitely we can say that this is magnetized, B is magnetized and other piece is non-magnetized, not magnetized. Means the reason is the magnetic field strength varies from point to point. At the end points, at the poles, magnetic field strength is maximum. This is how one can test. Now let us see one more simple example. The example of a dipole. Again it is an example of dipole. This is applicable even for electric dipoles also. So configuration is given like this. I have drawn the diagram. I will draw it once again. Look at this diagram, very interesting. There are two dipoles. P is one fixed dipole here, which is at the center of this space. Okay, it is having its dipole moment in this direction. Think that this is acting as north pole and this is acting as south pole. This is applicable even for electric dipole also, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6. These are the different positions of another dipole. Another dipole at different positions, they are named as first position, second position, third position, fourth position, fifth position and sixth position. It is being kept at different positions, right? The question is, in which configuration the system is not in equilibrium? In which configuration the system is not in equilibrium? So look at this. Let us look at Q1 and Q2. Q1 is the position wherein the dipole moment of Q1 is in perpendicular direction with the dipole moment of P. Dipole moment of Q is in perpendicular position with dipole moment of P. So in this case, when the angle between the dipole moment and the magnetic field due to this are perpendicular to each other, then potential energy U is equal to minus m dot B. It is just like what we have learnt in electrostatics, minus P dot E, where P is electric dipole moment and E is the electric field. Here in this case, m is the magnetic moment and B is the magnetic field. Let us consider m is the magnetic moment of Q and B is the magnetic field of B, magnetic field of P. So the angle between these two is 90 degree. So it becomes minus mb cos 90. So cos 90 is 0. Therefore, we get the potential energy to be 0. Sin 90 is 1, cos 90 is 0. Therefore, potential energy is 0. Potential energy 0 means it is having 0 potential energy, but it is not having negative potential energy. Therefore, it is in unstable position. Similarly, Q2 Q2 is also, this is for Q1 position. Similarly for Q2 also, you see again the angle between magnetic moment and the magnetic field is perpendicular. So as a result, what happens? Again you will get minus mb cos 90, again potential energy is 0. So it is also in unstable equilibrium position. Means in the position where the potential energy is negative and a minimum, then that state is stable equilibrium position. So look at this Q6. We can say that only Q6 and Q3 are said to be in most stable equilibrium position. Q6, for example, the magnetic moment and magnetic field of Q and P are in the same direction. As a result, what happens? For Q6 position, potential energy, if you calculate, minus mb cos 0. Angle between m and b is 0. Therefore, cos 0 is 1. If it is cos 0 1, then it becomes minus mb. So the potential energy is minimum with negative potential energy. When it is possessing negative minimum potential energy, it is said to be in stable equilibrium. Stable equilibrium state. It is in the state of stable equilibrium. So these are in the state of unstable equilibrium, right? Unstable state. This is also unstable state. Unstable state. Now look at the position Q3. Here if you draw the field lines, you see the field lines always come out from north pole and they meet at south pole. Exactly Q3 is in the same position as that of the magnetic field produced by the magnet P. So here magnetic moment and magnetic field are in the same direction. So again it is going to be cos 0. So for Q3, you can see if you calculate U, it is again minus mb. Again it is going to be stable, most stable equilibrium state. Equilibrium state. Now we are left with Q4 and Q5. In the case of Q4, you see if you draw the field lines, the field line due to the dipole P is in this direction. It is emerging from north along the axis. It acts along the axis. So the angle between the magnetic moment of Q and this magnetic field is again 180. Again it is 180. If it is 180, then it is said to be in the most unstable state. Why it is most unstable state? Look at this. For Q4 position, you can calculate here itself. For Q4 position, U is equal to minus mb cos 180. Cos 180, if you calculate, cos 180 is minus 1. So minus of minus becomes plus. So you will get potential energy to be maximum. So maximum potential energy, that is positive value of product of mb. Positive mb implies that it is in the most unstable state. Similarly for Q5, if you draw the field lines for this one, it's again like this. Look at it. It emerges from north and you see here it is in the opposite direction, right? So here if you draw the magnetic moment of this one, magnetic field of this one, B is in the vertically downward direction and magnetic moment of this Q5 is in the upward direction as it is given here. So the angle between them is again 180 degree. So for Q5 position also, for Q5 position also we get u is equal to minus of mb cos 180. So that is again going to be giving you plus mb. Again it is most unstable state, maximum potential energy, that implies most unstable state. So these are the two positions, Q4 and Q5 are the most unstable states, and Q3 and Q6 are stable states. Yes, Q3 and Q6 are the most stable states, and Q1 and Q2 are not in equilibrium, they are unstable, right. So zero potential energy doesn't imply that it is stable, it is unstable state. So the potential energy varies from minus mb to plus mb, minus mb to plus mb. Minus mb means minimum potential energy implying most stable state. So two positions, Q3 and Q6, most stable state. Q1, Q2 not in equilibrium. Q4 and Q5 most unstable state. So this is an interesting activity, so which can be dealt by calculating the potential energy. Okay, that's fine. Now next we are going to discuss about the Gauss law in magnetism. We have learnt in electrostatics about Gauss law. Gauss law in electrostatics, we have studied that the total outward normal flux enclosing a surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by it. So there we got either positive flux or negative flux or zero flux. If there is any enclosed surface which does not include any charge inside it, then the flux around that closed surface is 0. This is what we have already studied. Now let us apply same Gauss law for a dipole for magnetic field or magnetic configuration. So that is, we are learning Gauss law in magnetism. So I have drawn the magnetic configuration of a dipole bar magnet. So the field lines emerge from north pole and enter into south pole, and inside the magnet they enter from south and meet at north pole, and thus they form closed loops. This is what we already studied. I have chosen three regions: first region, right, second region and third region. Now let us look at this second region. The number of field lines entering, if you look at it, number of field lines entering is equal to number of field lines emerging out. So the total flux, if you call it as flux phi b, magnetic flux is nothing but the number of field lines perpendicular to the surface, number of field lines emerging perpendicular to the enclosed surface, that is what we call it as flux. The flux, if you calculate, number of field lines entering here is equal to number of field lines emerging out. As a result, the flux linking with the second enclosed surface is 0. Now come to the first region and third region. In the first region, look at this, it is having large number of field lines emerging out, right. If you choose this first region enclosing the north pole, very interesting thing, the number of field lines that are emerging out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which I have drawn, is exactly equal to number of field lines entering this, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the number of field lines entering this enclosed surface is equal to number of field lines emerging out. Again, the flux enclosed in this first region is also 0. Now come to the third region, where maximum flux is entering the south pole. Here they are emerging out and here they are entering. Again, if you consider this enclosed surface, See, number of field lines entering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is exactly equal to number of field lines emerging out. So, I have drawn yes, number of field lines emerging out. So, one more is here. Yes, number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, exactly 6 are there. So, there is no need to draw one more. Exactly 6 are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number of field lines entering this enclosed surface is exactly equal to number of field lines emerging out. So, again the flux linking with this south pole, the region covering the south pole, the flux linking here, that is magnetic flux, is 0. So, it is interesting, if you calculate the total flux enclosed by a closed surface for a magnetic configuration, it is always 0. So, if you remember the Gauss law in electrostatics, we wrote it as surface integral of E dot ds is equal to q upon epsilon naught. This is in electrostatics, Gauss law in electrostatics. On the same line, here we are writing Gauss law in magnetism. Surface integral of magnetic flux or surface integral of magnetic field taken over the closed surface. Surface integral of magnetic field taken over the closed surface gives us total flux. This becomes 0. The reason is the number of field lines entering any configuration is exactly equal to number of field lines emerging out. If you take this region, suppose this is the fourth region, either you take here or here, the number of field lines entering is equal to number of field lines emerging out. Here also the flux is 0. So, this is a very interesting statement as far as magnetism is concerned. So, net magnetic flux enclosed by a closed surface is always equal to 0. This is the statement of the Gauss law in magnetism. So, I am writing the statement Gauss law in magnetism. The net magnetic flux linking a closed surface is always 0. Any closed surface is 0. This is the Gauss law in magnetism. Magnetism and Gauss law. So, this is the statement. The meaning of this is nothing but magnetic flux phi b linking with a closed surface is always equal to 0. Here it is non-zero for electrostatics. In the case of electrostatics, if you remember, we have drawn the field lines for a dipole. Suppose this is the dipole, the magnetic field lines always emerge from positive charge and end at negative charge, right? If you have a comparison, so this is how we get the field lines for a electric dipole. So, in this case, the electric flux is non-zero. So, if you take electric flux around a positive charge, and electric flux around a negative charge, it is non-zero. You can just see, if I again take the closed surfaces, suppose this is closed surface number 1 and this is closed surface number 2, right? And suppose this I am taking it as the closed surface number 3. You see, now if you apply Gauss law in electrostatics for an electric dipole configuration, you see in this region, the total flux is always emerging out. So, it is the number of field lines are emerging out of this enclosed surface. Therefore, if you apply this Gauss law in electrostatics, the total flux linking with this phi E, total electric flux, is equal to 1 upon epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by it. The charge enclosed here is plus Q. Therefore, you will get positive flux. Similarly, for the second region, the charge enclosed is here minus Q, and therefore, you will get negative flux. All the electric field lines are meeting at negative charge. They are converging at negative charge. Therefore, if you calculate electric flux for this second region, we get minus Q upon epsilon naught. Therefore, this gives you negative flux and this gives you positive flux. And what happens to the third region? Look at this. In this case of third region, the number of field lines entering is equal to number of field lines emerging out. So, net flux is 0. Minus flux plus flux, the total flux becomes 0. So, here in this case for the third region it is 0. So, that is the difference between Gauss law applied in the case of electrostatics and the Gauss law applied in the case of magnetism. This important statement, the net magnetic flux linking any closed surface 0, which is a Gauss law statement in magnetism, implies a very important point that there is no isolated magnetic charge. Just like there is a positive charge here, isolated positive charge one can have in case of electrostatics, isolated negative charge one can have in case of electrostatics, but in case of magnetism there is no isolated positive charge. Qm, isolated magnetic pole. If you try to write it as Qm, so isolated magnetic pole never exists. It means magnetic monopole never exists in nature. Magnet always exists in the form of a dipole. Therefore, this is the statement of magnetic Gauss law statement in magnetism. So, okay, in the next we will discuss the important thing, that is certain numerical problems and conceptual problems. Then we will go to discuss about Earth's magnetism. Thank you. Have a nice day.